team session. For those of you who are not Texas Camp, where are you from? Let's start in, well, you guys are all Texas Camp. Let's start with you. Where are you from?
From the University of Texas here, the Bureau of Economic Geology, which is right down the street.
Cool.
We're a science research institute, and we made the leap to Drupal 8 on the first day of its release last year. So, fun times.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Early adopters.
Well, welcome. And you look like a new face.
Yes. Oh, me, you.
Both of you.
We both are. Go ahead.
I run an AC in Houston, member of the Houston Drupal Users Group.
Okay, Texas guy. Cool. And Catherine's with us. Molly?
Yes. I am from San Antonio, and I do marketing for ProMat Source, which is a Drupal firm based in Chicago that I work remotely in San Antonio.
Cool.
Texas.
And then you're a new face. Is anyone here who's not from Texas? Cool, you got one. That's good. So this is going to be mostly Texas facing with some interest from Chicago. Do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah. Jonathan Thompson, I'm with Rackspace.
You're one of the Rackers. Okay, cool. Cool. So now that we know who's here, it'll help us kind of focus what the discussion is going to be on, and that's what this is going to be, is a discussion of Texas Camp 2017 and kind of looking forward to 2018. So what I'm going to do with this is just kind of go over some facts to give you guys an idea of where we came from if you weren't part of the planning team, and then just give you some ideas of what happened as a result of 1 year of effort. So first I want to introduce you to the planning team, the people who are on it. If you were on the planning team and you're here, raise your hand, just to kind of give you an idea of how many people, some are in, some are out. Karen was with the program team. Lucy had to leave. She was marketing. Andrew did all the gorgeous designs. Charles was involved with diversity and inclusions, making sure people could access the building on crutches, for example. Brandon did our rad website with the help of other people. And then David, Kendall, myself, and Jeff kind of did planning for all the different buckets that happened to come up. So it's a really awesome team, and they were there from the beginning, and it was really cool to work with them. So I hope that you guys are also going to be very vocal during this discussion, with the understanding that we also have our team retrospective planned for after this. So this is going to be a little bit of what did people who were not part of the planning team think, with some flavors of those who were. So first of all, when we got the team together, I can back up. So we got the team together about a year ago, right after Drupal Camp Drupal Camp Texas in Dallas happened. Drupal Camp Texas in Dallas was not designed to be a roving event, but it was such fun, and having all the people from different parts of Texas come together was such a great experience that we thought maybe it would be cool if we could take this on a roadshow, get more people involved from different parts of the state, so that everyone kind of felt like it was a Texas camp and not just a single city camp. So the way that this team was actually formed is we put out the call for volunteers on the Austin Drupal Meetup group, on Drupal.org groups, and I think on San Antonio on the Doug, I don't remember. We put it out just to be we're trying to be very open about this. If you're interested in being involved, please ping us, please talk to us. And based off that, we were able to come up with this awesome team. We met once a month for the first couple months, just to kind of get some momentum started, and to kind of get the roles figured out, who's going to do what does that mean, who do we talk to. And some people, like Catherine, were involved just from let's get the network extended to certain cities, and that was really helpful. So people were able to join the calls, but they weren't necessarily required to do any heavy lifting. So this was kind of the core team of people who showed up all the time and kind of had lots of tasks, but there were other people who were involved who just kind of helped piecemeal. One of the cool things about this team is that we went from meeting monthly to meeting weekly, and for the most part they were able to do that, which was really cool because that's a huge drain on a lot of people's day, to have to stop what they're doing in the middle of their workday to come and volunteer and do a thing that's completely unrelated to their everyday job. So that was pretty cool. So one of the things that we did to kind of keep the communication and the information available to everyone is that we used Google Docs. I loved using Google Docs. Here was 2016, so we sort of carried over that tradition of sharing information from team to team, so that if someone else were to pick up the project, they would have some information to go off of. And we actually did lean on these, on the information that were in these folders, like who was the attendees from last year. That helped us build our MailChimp list, things like that, so that we didn't completely start from scratch when we picked up 2017. And by all means, don't look at this as like ooh, we should emulate this when we do it again next year. This is mostly just became like a junk drawer of folders by topic. But these are the kind of things that ended up coming up during planning that were stuff that we don't want to have to recreate next year. For this camp, this is the breakdown as of like an hour ago, and I hope it's still accurate. It probably is. We did pretty good with ticket sales and training. I separated the two things because ticket sales I relate to Saturday, Sunday attendees, and then training was Friday. So you're going to see a couple of variations, but it's kind of cool to see the breakdown. If you've ever been involved in the registration side of a camp, of kind of where people come in. So like early bird, we had it set at 25 early bird tickets. Some people say like, oh, by February 14th, your early bird sales will end. I don't know if that made a difference in how people were receptive to that, but it was just kind of an interesting point. The free tickets were like sponsors, speakers, volunteers, and we had 8 on-site registrations, which I honestly didn't think that was going to happen. And then we had 11 individual sponsors, which was way more than I thought we were going to get. The ticket price started at $25, then it went to $50 for the regular price, and then individual was $75, which is the same price as the on-site rate. So we actually got quite a few people to jump in on that, which is kind of cool. And if you have questions at all during any of this, feel free to just jump in, because it should be open. I just wanted to kind of give you a base for people who weren't sure where things came from. One thing that was an interesting point is that last year, the camp actually was operating at a loss, and so our goal this year was to not do that, because that's not sustainable, and at the end of the day, someone's company is having to shell out a whole lot of money, and so I didn't want to have that happen and then have this be a daunting task for a company to want to pick up and manage. So my goal was to keep costs as low as possible while still putting on an event that people felt like they were getting their money out of. So the venue was where most of our money actually went. Just being in this space with power and AV and that giant room full of tables was $15,000. So that's before we started adding catering, coffee, any kind of services like that. If we would have added catering, we would have lost $10,000.
And wasn't that one of the least expensive options?
The least expensive options would have been to have a sandwich buffet, a cold sandwich buffet, and that would have been $10,000.
No, I meant the venue. Wasn't
Oh,
one of the lower costs in the venues that we found?
Yeah, for the combination of room sizes and attendees, estimated attendees, and like parking situation and ease of access from downtown, this was one of the more reasonable options. Like we looked at hotels, I was like, I went in very excited. I was like, I don't know about Austin pricing at all. Let's go find out what happens. And I was quoted like $24,000 from a hotel, and I was like, that's not happening. So this was one of the places that both wanted to work with us and were okay with us not actually doing catering. They were not okay with us bringing in our own catering, which would have been awesome because there's definitely a lot cheaper options. Like I wanted to do a food truck, and they were like, no, those are not allowed on campus. I was like, no, thank you for that. So that was kind of a bummer. The speaker volunteer dinner was actually an addition that we didn't anticipate going in that we wanted to have, but we wanted to do some kind of give back to people who were speaking at the event, and so we put this together. Karen put it together, found a cute little like Austin-y spot for people who are not from Austin to give speakers a chance to come and meet other speakers in kind of like a closed, let's all be the cool kids together environment, and I thought that was really fun. I'd like to hear feedback if you guys went to that, or if you know people who went for that, whether they thought that it was actually a benefit versus just another thing that they had to do on an already busy weekend. Because those are the kind of things, like, we think that they're awesome and helpful and people enjoy them, but like maybe the brisket was so awful that it ruined the whole night. Like, I don't know. And then prints and supplies. So this was getting all of our signage done, like getting blue tape purchased, the lanyards, things like that. Like anything that you would find in this venue that is ours that like we want to take home at the end of the night. So the costs here were mostly for like signage. Signage is crazy expensive, but it's good to know now so that we can shop that around next year and see if we can get comparable prices. It also kind of put us in the direction of like, do we want to pay for lanyards, or do we want to have a sponsor pay for lanyards? And that's what actually ended up happening. It saved us $600, right? Cool. Video and AV. This was the cost of bringing in someone to do session recording, just to pay for hotel and lodging basics, not just, we didn't do any kind of salary. And so for us, it was worth it just because the kind of content that we're going to be distributing and making available, that's a pretty reasonable rate, we think. So hopefully we can afford that again if we decide to do this in the next year. And hopefully other camps can also pick up this cost, because it's cool to see this content distributed to more than just 11 people in a session. One thing that might be as a surprise to you guys, we are financed, well, we work with the Drupal Association as our fiscal sponsor. What that means is at the end of the day, when we need to pay sales tax on the Eventbrite tickets, or if we want to do, if we want to have the venue get paid their $15,000, like Amazy Labs isn't going to pay that. We might pay some of these things and get reimbursements, but at the end of the day, we have the Drupal Association acting as a bank account to run all these transactions through. So they don't do that for free, which would be awesome. They do it at a 10% of all ticket sales and all sponsor sales. So it's expensive, but it's cheaper than hiring an accountant or using QuickBooks to manage it. That said, this is a conversation for potentially in future. If we were to become a nonprofit organization in Texas, we would no longer have to pay sales tax, which would save us a crap ton of money off the venue alone. So just one thing to look at in future, and we wouldn't have to pay DA fees. So that's probably about $5,000 all said and done worth of savings.
But would we be managing money? DA be managing money?
No, so if we set up as a nonprofit in Texas, we would have our own board, our own bank account, everything we'd have to be responsible for in-house, which is a huge time commitment. It just kind of depends on the people who are going to be doing it, whether or not that matters enough to them to spend the money versus the time. And then ticket sales, taxes, and fees. So Eventbrite is the raddest ticketing software ever. And for me, the headache of not having to have the headache of processing fees, processing refunds, knowing where people bought a ticket or who bought the ticket for them, and being able to check people in. The $1 or so fee that we passed on to the attendees, and so far I haven't heard complaints, totally worth it to me. If there's other stuff out there that people know about, we're open to ideas, but if it's not broken and it's not charging us all the monies, like I say, pay it. A lot of that $1,200 is actually just tickets, the sales tax. So, any questions about where the money went?
T-shirts included in it?
T-shirts are in the print. Yeah, I think the T-shirts were $1,200. We only printed 150 because at the time when the T-shirts went to print, we only had like 100 people registered. We ended up having 200 at the end of the day, so we were under by a few. So, yeah. So where'd the money go? Ticket sales, we got about $8,500. This is a little bit out of date, so it's about $8,500. Sponsorship, we managed to score 18 grand by some really generous sponsors. It really helped that the top 3 sponsors were all part of the planning team. I don't know if that's sustainable, but that made it really easy to chase down a huge chunk of change really quickly. Expenses, that was that previous tab that we just went through. At the end of the day, last year there was a net loss of about $8,000. This year, not just because we were really tight with money, but also because we fucked up our spreadsheet. We had we found out that we were actually ahead by almost $7,000, which is pretty rad. So these are still a little bit soft numbers. They're not final. Like, we haven't gotten the bill back from the venue. We haven't gotten everything finalized. We want to do another print run for the people who didn't get a T-shirt this first time. But I think that's a pretty sweet place to be sitting. One of the lines I didn't include on here was the amount of money that we got from the DA as our fiscal sponsor. 2 or 3 years ago, there was a Drupal Camp Austin, and that group had started the fiscal sponsorship with the Drupal Association. We came in and said, we're taking over for this group. Can you be our fiscal sponsor? And they said, yeah, not only that, but the camp that was previously running here had money sitting with us that they have not spent yet. And we said, oh, I like that. It was $5,000. So that was really cool going in with this camp, knowing that if we needed to find a venue that needed a deposit, that we had that money available. So even though it looks like we made $7,000, which we did, not all of that is from sales alone. Like $5,000 of that is carryover from last year. So basically we're looking at about a $2,000 net. But it's still great because if we decide to switch venues or go to a different location, we still have a pretty big down payment or deposit for a venue. And we don't know what that venue's rates are going to be, so it could be they want to have 50% upfront or 10% upfront. But this just makes it so that we don't have to panic and grab sponsorship right away. Thoughts, feels, questions?
No, it's excellent.
Okay. And just a breakdown of t-shirts. Some people were interested in what the breakdown was that we ordered. We did include on the Eventbrite registration, like, tell us your t-shirt size, but we didn't, of course, know we were going to do t-shirts up until maybe like 3 weeks before the camp actually started, which meant the bulk of people had already registered, and so we lost the ability to ask them what their t-shirt size was. So this is a guesstimate. We did run out of t-shirts, and at the closing session, we're going to let people know that if they didn't get a t-shirt, that they can give us their sizes. So we'll take this and the new size distribution, and we'll try to merge them together and get a better idea for future camps. It's kind of a exercise in futility to me a little bit, because t-shirt sizes like change by brand and whether or not you're wearing like a women's versus a men's shirt or a unisex shirt. So you could say that you're a small and then pick up a shirt and find out that it's not really, and it'll throw this whole thing out the window anyway. But it's good to at least have a starting point so that you know, like, you know, whether all of your people are extra small or if all of them, you know, hate V-necks. Like, this just gives you a place to start. Yeah. So that's really the net of all the info of what happened from like a logistical side. These are all the things that we can talk about. I kind of want to open this up and let you guys either ask questions or state opinions or things like that, and we can just tackle a couple of them until we run out of time. It's really what you guys want to talk about. Yeah, this is just to give you an idea of stuff that there is to talk about. And if something's not listed, feel free to, yeah.
I think it might be a good idea, since we have a list of everybody that attended, to do a post-event survey, feedback on this. When we did a user design experience workshop earlier today, we got a little bit of it from everyone that was a participant. But to me, it almost like led to more questions.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I've heard that would probably be good ideas are just hypotheses at this point. I'd be willing to work with somebody to work on that survey and get that sent out.
Yeah, we do have a survey that's set to go out, but if you want to look at it in advance and give feedback on it, that's totally fine. I know that it has a couple of like preset questions, like, you know, what's your background, things like that. For me, I really like the retrospective approach, like what did you like, what did you not like, what do you want to see different, but I don't know if that kind of data in a survey format is going to be useful versus just like a bunch of people telling us that they were cold. So yeah, if you want to take a look at that survey, meet me afterwards and I can connect you with Kendall, who has access to it.
Okay.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. And I have no problem actually making that survey information available after we close it, because I think that information is useful to more than just the planning team. Like if Chicago wants it or if like DC wants it, they can have it. Things not to, you know, mess up at your camp.
Is there any area in particular where you guys felt like you didn't have enough help or volunteers or participation that you could really use that going into the 2018 planning?
That's like two different questions, but yes. No. I think because like we went over the chart of kind of who the team is and what their breakdown was, and I think it really helped to have like, Karen, you're in charge of X, X, and Y because you're the program person, so I'm just going to pick this up and throw it at you, and I know that eventually you'll catch it. And then having like people like me and Jeff and David sort of like doing multiple little things was really helpful. I think the core team, we could add a few more people. I would want the people that we would add to feel like they were actually getting something out of it, not just having to sit like, you know, week after week on the calls. For on-site, maybe David or you, Karen, can speak to that better than I can. I think we had enough people coverage.
I thought we did pretty well on volunteers. At least the volunteers that I got a chance to work with, they were, you know,
Friendly.
they were friendly, they were
Eager
willing to learn, they showed up and they were in the rooms monitoring like they had committed to do so. So I think, you know, we had 12 or 15, I think is what we ended up with. If we got any bigger, of course, we'd want to try and grow that. You know, we'd add another room, we exponentially add bodies. But you know, you're asking people to give up their weekend, and so it's kind of this fine balance of, you know, what's too much we're asking for, what's too little we're asking for. So,
Yeah.
It's self-organized too, the people. You know, with the layout as it was, everybody kind of knew what they needed to do, and there weren't too many roles. I mean, the camp's pretty fluid and somewhat informal, right? And so that worked out well, I thought. I think the Eventbrite tooling made it very easy to say like, hey, you person, check people in. And
Yeah.
it's just like, boop, bop, boop. You know, and so that goes a long way,
Yeah,
I think.
minimalizing onboarding,
You know.
like,
yeah.
Yeah, if it was something you had to like teach and was complex, then yeah, uh-oh.
Yeah, because
I'll
only
give
a
a
buck.
plus 10 dated sign-up sheet.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was.
No, plus 10 to her, she built it.
Oh, okay, so
yeah,
Yeah.
plus 10 of the volunteer sign-up.
yeah, that was great.
So back to the Google Docs, I don't know if I can pull it up, but afterwards I'm happy to share it. What we did is we created a spreadsheet that said, like, the first tab was like list your name if you want to help and your contact information, like in case you drink too much the next day and we need to know whether or not you're alive. And then a list of all the tasks that we knew were going to happen. And to be fair, the tasks were stolen directly from mid-camp.
Yeah.
So
We're friends.
some of them didn't completely apply to our camp. But then we had an each day tab, so that if you were like, okay, I'm David at 2 o'clock, I'm going to be in this session anyway, I want to be a room monitor, like it was very easy to be like, okay, I'm going here, and then, okay, and I get a piece of paper to fill out, like as part of my thing. I think it was pretty, like, direct, but we're happy to share what that looked like.
Yeah, it was extremely helpful.
Yeah, so that was part one. I think part two was, like, I'm going to reword this question, and maybe this is me, like, reading into another topic that I want to talk about anyway, but the idea that the planning team is closed, or that the planning team is no longer seeking new talent for 2018. Is that potentially a topic that you were meaning out of that?
Oh, I just meant like, is there of these topics or
Oh, okay.
what you guys are already thinking about for 2018? If there's any areas where you need.
Well, that's also a great
That's
topic.
part of the discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like,
That's
like Charles got added for the diversity inclusion topic like a month or two before camp started. Like we didn't know that was going to be something that we wanted to really like throw a person at. So one of the things that we want to do is say like, okay, we know that we need a venue. We know that we need speakers. Like we know like a bathroom would be really nice to have. Like things like that we know we can put a person in front of and make sure it gets checked off the list. But if someone comes in and they're like, I really think your session, your speakers and your sessions would benefit by having like a speaker trainer. Like if someone wants to come in and do that, like I'm not suggesting that's the thing we want to do, but like if someone comes in there and they say this is a thing I really feel strongly about, I'm willing to come in here and be the person who facilitates making that happen. Like bring those ideas because that's just going to make the camp better.
Yeah, I think there's also, there was probably help that could have gone. I don't think like we were undermanned or like anything went without attention. But maybe some of the things could have had a little bit maybe more attention, you know, or more resources devoted to it. But that's I don't think we did bad, but especially around like marketing and stuff like that. I think there can never really be like too much marketing. But you know, that one's kind of tricky. You know, especially when you want to kind of like get out of whoever is handling it, like get out of their way, right? Like they got their marketing plan, like right, and so.
Yeah, well, to that point, like Andrew's not here to speak for himself, but one of the things he was saying is like, he's like, I really want to be part of 2018, but I don't want to brand this thing all over again. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, I liked the direction that we're in, and I don't think it's done. So if we're going to do 2018, like I don't want to just take that cowboy and like throw him out the window because he would hate that. But like the idea that there's so many other places that we can add design elements and we can like polish the design and like find things that we're missing. Like did you see that the venue map got turned?
Yeah.
Things like that. We should.
Build upon that.
We know better now. We can improve that next year. So things like that, where we see it, we see that we didn't completely drop the ball, but hey, we could do so much better next year. We know that. Like those are the kind of places that we want to start focusing on.
I mean, that was one thing that I guess as not knowing that Texas Camp existed, when I came across it, like the thing that I saw first was the website and the brand, and I was like, and of course,
Totally legit,
coming from
right?
a marketing standpoint, I'm like, this is amazing. Like this is the most like consistent like brand identity I've seen for like a site and a brand, much less a camp that's put on by like a team of volunteers and it's not your full-time job.
Yeah.
So for me, that was like, I was really blown away by it. So I agree. I think it would be a a tragedy to depart completely from that
Yeah.
and not just build upon it. So
The flag needs to be bigger next year.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
and, and some camps take an opposite approach, which is every year there's a theme for that camp.
Yeah.
And so, is it this, is it that, is it, does it depend on the year? Is it something they're playing on for like Star Wars or whatever it is?
Right.
Whatever geekdom, thing that
Yeah.
comes to mind. But there's something about building a brand identity and
Yeah.
that has consistency. And then we add elements and we expand the website instead of moving it away and then starting from scratch for the next year.
Maybe not burning volunteer resources to
Just to burn them.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
to burn it.
Right.
Because there's other things you could be better than do, I think.
Exactly. And I think you kind of posed a quasi-question from the budget perspective about AV recordings. I can't tell you how many times I've had people ask recently, when are the videos going to be up? So, plus I think that gives us street cred.
Right.
Out there on YouTube, Texas Camp's putting it there. Definitely a line item we need to keep, in my opinion, so, as a program person, and bring him back all the time so we can party. But it's because especially a lot of the feedback that you're getting is as people are planning and their journey map piece of attending the camp is now they're making decisions on is this session more important than this session, and they don't want to give up having to not see another session. And there's some sort of angst that's involved with that. And you have that DrupalCon. It's like, damn, how do they have two UX ones right at the same time? And I want to go to both. And that's the reasons why you do tracks and try to keep them balanced throughout, so that if a UX person wants to throw through there. But then I don't have to choose because I do UX, I do design, I do front end development, and that could be at all time frames at the same time. So
When you
You
get the
could
liquor
expand the
state.
hallway track with the AV. You'd enjoy the hallway track
Yeah.
a little bit more if you're not
Yeah.
having to run.
yep.
I think the $800 got off cheap. I'll be honest. Because even throughout the year, when we move into 2018, we get into the marketing. Hey, did you catch this session at our last year? We have the whole thing up on YouTube
Yeah.
for the Texas Camp channel, and me
Write
going
that
in
down.
and watching all of the DrupalCon Baltimore sessions is not stopping my wanting to go to DrupalCon Baltimore, or, DrupalCon Tennessee or in Nashville, whatever. I still want to go. I think us having our sessions there and reminding people on Twitter and whatnot that, hey, you can see the session. By the way, Texas Camp is also happening again. I think we'll get more first-time and returning attendees.
Well, I think first time and returning speakers, because camps are a great place for people to get their feet wet on speaking. And you kind of have to build a little bit of street cred on your speaking skills to get into DrupalCon. So, for them to be able to point back at a video that shows, hey, yes, I do kind of know what I'm talking about. Please choose me.
Yeah, that speaks
we
to
help
the,
them.
yeah, that speaks to the availability to the long-term
Yes.
availability of the website over time, right? The archive aspect of it, yeah.
Well, if you record them, you have equity. Because if we didn't record them, everything would be gone after
Yeah.
this point going forward. And none of the knowledge that we shared would be available to anybody else after this. So.
A lot like the people, half the people.
Well, and I like that idea too, that it doesn't just go dormant, because I feel like sometimes you have a camp or you have an event that's annual, and then you kind of don't think about it again until a few months out or 6 months out. And if it's like Texas Camp or Texas Camp Twitter or whatever is still active throughout the year, it's going to stay top of mind for people. And when they're making their plans and thinking, okay, well, where are we going to allocate resources, whether it's sponsorships or speakers or attendees, they're going to kind of keep that top of mind and start thinking about Texas Camp earlier.
Yeah. I'm going to switch topics a little bit and pin on Molly. Where did you find out about Texas Camp?
Oh gosh, it was when I was at mid-camp, and
Okay.
I think I was having a discussion with somebody about, what other camps do you go to? Because mid-camp was my first Drupal camp ever, and I really just was like, okay, well, I'm in San Antonio, so what could be potentially local? And I had never spoken at a camp before or been involved in a camp or that involved in the Drupal community. So for me, it was like, awesome, there's going to be one in Austin.
Yeah.
I cannot remember if somebody told me about it or if it was just happened to be around the same time that the site went live. It might have been like that same week, so that I came
Okay.
across it.
Yeah, because for me, I just keep hearing that, oh, I just found out Texas Camp happened like a week ago. And I'm like, well, where did you learn about that? Because obviously where we're like throwing all of our resources isn't maybe the best place to do that. Yeah,
It's a good question for the survey.
right?
Yeah.
Write that down.
But I think like the cross promotional, like at other camps too. I mean, if there's people like Andrea from Chicago being here and bringing mid-camp stickers, or
Now you know
people,
mid-camp's a thing.
yeah, and it was the same way at DrupalCon. Like I went up to the Drupal Association table and I was like, great, what other camps are there that we should be participating in? And they just kind of had all their flyers out, and that was helpful. So
Cool.
Yeah, we could have probably had a more coordinated attack at the
At-
con, yeah, which was just so close, right?
Yeah.
Next year,
Next time, write it down.
yeah.
Cool. And John, you had a,
Yeah, so in some of the posts followed, like either the videos or like even the newsletter to inform people about Drupal, which, you know, it's just a website to let you see what's going on next. So you can
Drupal.
see- Drupal, so-
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just kind of
Drupal is
like,
awesome.
it's snaky and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, go to these guys, you know, see something else. And just
Yeah,
travel
camp-
as far
camp
as
coordination.
Oregon. And, you know, most people don't know about that site yet. Or, you know, it's still getting penetration.
But kind of along those lines, something that might be something to look at, of course this will come up later too, but is people find out about our camp at other camps, and people find out about other camps at ours. So that table down at the end that was whatever, there were basically some sad stickers over there. Neat stickers, but not very many, not a lot going on, and maybe some kind of reciprocal thing where we spend a tiny part of our print budget on something. Here are the upcoming camps in the next 6 months that are
I love
within
that.
500 square miles, whatever we want to do, or talk to them and say, hey, we're going to put your logo in your camp on a sign as people are walking out, and we have it up the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And if you'll do that for us,
And right there is a new volunteer position. Like, who wants to be camp ambassador? Like, someone who's going
Yeah.
to make sure that they go to the camps. Like, I mean, it could be someone who's already traveling to the camps and just
Yeah.
saying, like, you know, here's our stack of stickers, or I'm going to mail you my stack of stickers. And
Sounds like Kevin to me.
sounds like, cool.
go into the room, set up.
And that's on record, huh?
Yeah, it's being recorded. He's just going to splice that one piece out. Did anyone get, like, as a speaker or a sponsor or an attendee who read the emails? Like, what did you think about the emails? Did it help? Did it, like, was it just more chaos in the wind?
I thought they were very well written. I thought it communicated a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So basically,
the Texas twang stuff is fun too. You know what I mean? Like it really is.
So I guess on the other side of that is there another channel besides email to shout at people and get them to read it, or is it just a matter of there's just so much noise out there to let it go?
I think some of what was in the emails, I mean, I was constantly going back and just like searching Texas Camp or searching things you'd sent me. If there was just like whether it's a Google Doc or somewhere that is a link for a speaker or for a sponsor where all that stuff is just reiterated, that might be
Yeah.
helpful. So I think that's what DrupalCon did this year for sponsors. It was just like a Google Doc and then it had links and it would just jump you
Okay.
to those sections.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was all in the email, so it wasn't like I couldn't find what I was looking for.
But if someone became a sponsor later than the email that you had, like, what would they do?
Right, but I mean, it was nice that it was, you know, I liked the fact that each day, like each morning of this weekend, there was an email, so you could see what was going on that day, and it was like the same consistency of message. It wasn't like, you know, I had conflicting information.
And parroting that information on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's efforts to build kind of like a distribution for camps and conferences of Drupal to already handle, you know, registration of users and sessions and all that. And maybe we might actually be able to jump into that to kind of help augment, kind of like Eventbrite kind of helps with all of that.
Yeah.
We might be able to find some kind of more turnkey camp-specific options, right, for tech to support those things.
One thing I would have maybe liked to seen, you know, I submitted a session, it didn't get approved, but then somebody else canceled it, and so I was next in, I guess, the line.
The queue.
Yeah, I was next in queue. Maybe the people in those first spots get a notification, hey, if someone backs out, would you be available?
Yeah.
So you can at least find out if those reserved people would still be available in that position. I would have liked that, because then I said yes, but then it was like, oh, well, that's a week away, and then let me go like cram all this stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, so to that point, yes. However, we had 4 cancellations, so we did burn through our list of people who did get that notification.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was not on there. Okay.
No.
Fair enough.
So it actually, yes, that's a great thing to do, is to let people know, like, you didn't make it the cut just simply because of space. Can we reach out to you? You want to, yeah, I guess. You just happened to luck out.
Yeah.
And thank you.
I'm glad I was just like, I've been lurking on Slack for
Yeah, I was like, I need to go email. Oh, he's here.
So as far as topics, what about choosing the city? Let's talk about
Yeah.
the city. Yeah.
So I've got this awesome little thing at the bottom called Decision Time. I was hoping that we wanted to talk about this. I was hoping that we would have more people from the different cities, but that we don't have to decide here. But basically, there's a couple things on the table. So like I mentioned at the very beginning, Drupal Camp, Texas Camp, is now, was then supposed to be a roving camp, like a, I don't know.
Traveling roadshow.
Like DrupalCon. It picks up and goes, but it's like bound within the state of Texas. So that's one thing that's on the table is, did we like Austin? And it kind of sucks because I'm from Austin saying this, so I feel like I shouldn't be the one to like pose this question. Do we want to continue having it move cities? What are the merits of having it move cities? What are the merits of staying in one place? How does it make you feel, like immediate gut reaction? Like, do you want to throw the table? Or are you like, hey, let's stay? Do you want to stay somewhere else? Do we want to go hang out in College Station? There's a lot of different things that go with, is this camp a moving camp? Does the team change when we change cities? Like all these different things should be talked about, and I can give you kind of my approach to this, and you guys can talk based off that, or we can just do open discussion. How do you guys feel?
I think in regards to Austin, in my opinion, like, if we were to do this again, and for instance, we picked this location, the extracurricular events, like this Stubbs dinner or whatever, really should be in the same area.
Yeah.
Like, we ended up not going to the party last night just because it was like, we're all in this area, we don't really want to go downtown and deal with a large crowd. And,
Yes.
and so we opted to not do that. And so I think if we are going to stay, and maybe if we're here, then try to do events maybe up in the Domain or something like that.
Yep.
That would be my feedback.
Yep. I heard multiple people say that same thing. Like, I told people, for example, like if you're picking a place to stay, pick a place that's downtown. Don't pick a place, because for me, like knowing how far away Austin is from things, like that made sense to me. But I agree, for that reason, if you know you're gonna do extracurriculars, go where the extracurriculars are more likely to be. That said, the Domain has places. That's one of the reasons that we were like, this place is actually decent for us to pick, is because if we want to do an after party, there's options.
Yeah.
So yes.
And actually, the first couple rounds of after parties and dinners, I was looking specifically up here.
Yeah, so that's completely valid to say,
And
don't make us drive all over.
So I
that
love hearing
information.
that's kind of the feedback, because that was my initial gut, and then we kind of had this whole internal
Circumstances.
discussion of, well, people are going to want to be downtown. Oh, they're going to want to be downtown. And
Well,
it's
and
like-
we actually had people in our group who distinctly didn't want to be downtown Austin on a Saturday night.
Yeah. I just want to drink, right? Just move on.
And
Give us a bar.
Domain nowadays is a valid place where you can literally go bar to bar to bar to bar,
Yeah.
just like Rainy Street. So it's not like you're missing out by not being in downtown or not being on 36th.
Yeah.
Anything downtown is always going to be more expensive, though.
Well, the parking is always been.
Well, parking, but hotels,
Yeah.
because like last time when Khan was here, we paid like $20 or something per day.
For parking?
On top of hotel, just to park in the stinking hotel.
Yeah.
That's why I rode in on the motorcycle and I parked in front of the spot. Well, one of my other developers pulled in the same spot.
Yeah.
Yes, stick to the man.
This will make you happy. So one of the venues we were looking at was actually another UT location downtown, and
Yeah.
parking was $18 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for the camps, if their goal is to keep the cost down and everything,
Mhm.
I was actually going to suggest if we go with, I like the idea of moving the city, because you're always going to pick up people in that city that aren't going to come otherwise. And maybe if they like it enough, then they'll be willing to make the trip the next time to another city. Perhaps what we should do is everybody break out. If venue was the biggest expense, let's see what kind of venue we can get in each of the cities.
Yeah.
And then pick the city from that.
That's valid.
Yeah, I like to second the idea of moving it. I think if we just purely go off to the people who came like it, then we'll be biased towards just because the people
Yep.
who couldn't come, won't be there to respond. And I think, also think like Austin and the Texas tech community in general, tends to be a little bit self-centered around Austin, you know, kind of like how Parisians are supposed to think only all of France is in Paris, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really good to get out. Like, you know, Houston is so big, you could take Austin and smear it around in there and just kind of get lost. And when you have an event like there at Houston, like all this interesting stuff and people like come out of the woodwork.
Yep.
Like all this, like, so if we were to do anywhere near Houston, you know, then one thing we'd get is we'd probably get like, you know, 20 to 30 people from NASA and their Drupal sites. And that would be cool. And, you know, and similar things can be said for, you know, Dallas and San Antonio and,
Yep.
and pretty much anywhere. So I'm in favor of rotating it.
Yep. I would say, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna, I'm not gonna, I just want people to take into consideration that you have to staff the planning and the volunteering and all of that, and you may not be able to find in another city a Stephanie, for example, or Brandon, or any of the other people on the team, and that would be really difficult to try to organize from Austin to try to organize an event in another city, with the exception, I think, of maybe San Antonio, which might have the ability to do that, the ability for people from Austin to be able to do that. I think, you know, I personally think Houston is a great city that is very diverse as opposed to Austin. And so I think people really need to be familiar with that city because it really is like a great city, despite that people really say all these terrible things about it. I think diversity. Yeah, they're not all true, and I think the main thing is that it's a diverse area, and so that if you want to expand out of the usual communities, you may want to do that. But I think that's for a future event when you're really grown. Then I think you should pick a city like Houston or Dallas.
And attracting speakers too.
And attracting speakers and all of that. But I think, San Antonio might be viable in terms of it might be a cheaper venues and,
Maybe.
Charles had his hand.
Mine sort of thought sort of builds on Patty's is, we made a comment a few minutes ago, or said about changing necessarily the planning team. If we send it to Dallas, does it become the Dallas team? If we send it to San Antonio, does it? I would be against that. I'm not saying that we couldn't change necessarily the leadership team to include somebody as a guide from Dallas, as a guide from San Antonio, but as we all sort of noted, we kind of built the Texas Camp brand, and between last year's camp, which was really good, and this year's camp, if next year's camp we hand it off to, and I'm just throwing names out here, so don't let's say we hand it off to Midland because they beg for us to go there, and it's a team of 2 or 3 people that we don't really interact with, and we get to Texas Camp Midland, and it's tables outside, and that's it. It's the next Texas Camp Austin, nobody's going to want to come to, because what if it's as bad as Texas Camp Midland? And so, I'm not against, adding people. I'm very for adding people from Dallas and San Antonio and so on. But other than having David with San Antonio, we know you have the project ownership already on board from San Antonio. I would be concerned about a different city.
Kevin had hand.
Yeah, so for reasons I won't go into, mid-camp was originally planned to be a rotating regional camp. And we just last year officially nixed that idea, or this year officially nixed that idea for a lot of some of the same concerns that are coming up, because you are creating a brand. Once you hand that over to another team or city, there's no telling how that's going to affect the attendee experience and the brand as a whole. So we opted to stay at Chicago just so that we could get consistency. And because I think this was the third one, so we're a young camp. I don't know how old Texas Camp is.
Technically 2 years.
2 years. So, and you, doubled attendance over last year? So what if next year you cut that in half by moving to another city? You just don't know. So I think we decided taking some of those variables out of the equation, even though it was a good idea at the time, we decided to go for something that was more sustainable.
So I fought hard for San Antonio. I had a free venue at Rackspace. It's like half a mall, right?
Whoa.
And I mean, it was ready to go, right? But the fact is that, you know, Austin has a lot more viability for this, a lot more traction, right? And, you know, even most of the sponsorship is composed of companies here in Austin. Now you're talking about the core team. I think that the core team is critical, right? Because if it's really the same people that are doing it, then we are building upon it, right? If we do move it around, there is a little bit of a reset that occurs every time. You know, if we could do what we did this time, but make it better next year by staying in Austin, then I would prefer to do that, right? Than kind of like, you know, just to get it in San Antonio. I'm like, yeah, check the box.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel that, you know, it could be smaller in a different place, but if you got a very different attendance, that would actually be like a win for Drupal overall. It's like,
Different people.
like I think if the reason, you know, like, well, one of the main reasons why I would come to the camp, well, A, to learn, that's the primary one, but B is like to like maybe recruit people to work for my company.
Sure.
And I know all the people who are in Austin or who will come to Austin. And, you know, if we sort of like always just do it in Austin, like, you know, eventually there's going to be a Linux Fest the same weekend that's in Houston as this one, and I'm going to go to that because, like, I need to, you know, Texas is big. Like, we can't handle it from one city. Like, we're not in Rhode Island.
So to your point, though, about reaching people like NASA, I don't know if us going to Houston would necessarily reach NASA by itself. I think that if we want to go talk to NASA, we need to figure out how to talk to NASA.
Great.
And I think that kind of conversation is a better for marketing, like to do better, because, like I said, we started with the list from last year, and that was where we started. And then we tried to gather the planning teams, like companies, and so we still have a pretty narrow list of people who actually get the word about Texas Camp. And so I think maybe the better discussion for we need to reach other communities, like, yes, making it available to them is a lot easier, but I don't know if making it easier for them to reach is necessarily going to better the camp, because if we make it easy for them to attend, so speaking from DrupalCon experience, yes, any city you put a DrupalCon in is going to have majority attendee from that city. They will not follow the camp. Like, you'll always have a core attendees, a core group of attendees who will chase the camp wherever it goes, or the DrupalCon wherever it goes. And you'll get some people from NASA, say, who will continue to join. But for the most part, if it's kind of that thing of like, oh, the circus is in town, I will go. So I think if the takeaway from that is that we want to have more diversity and more breadth of different companies, then that should be the goal for, say, marketing, or bringing in a person whose specific task is go to those companies and say, Texas Camp is coming, do you know that? And figuring out how to get them to make the trip.
Well, I was just going to speak to the Houston thing, since we did it. I mean, we've done Houston, and I can tell you the pitfalls and it was in 2011. I don't know, you were there. Who else? Anybody else was there?
I wish I was there.
Okay, so, and what Rob said, Houston's a very different audience, and so we had a different focus a little bit. It wasn't so developer specific. It wasn't a very campy feel either. It was, you know, we were going after project managers and decision makers and that sort of thing. We had people from all over. We had great speakers, fantastic speakers, but you know, we had people talking about specifically Linux stuff and server stuff, and then we had like Agile stuff, and then we had I was talking about it earlier, and I can't even remember all this peripheral stuff that we had. A little bit more business focused.
Yeah.
We had several business cases on the actual using a Drupal to solve business solutions, because Houston is kind of more of a Microsoft town, and it was a wide breadth and depth, and but there was still a development track.
So that is, it's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge. People have to shift focus a little bit. And then the other challenge is it was organized and found by a core group of about 5 people. We had volunteers, but really it was only about 5 people doing a lot of work, and it was a bigger budget, and it was a bigger, not a much bigger event actually. It was about 200 people, attendees. But yeah, I mean, there would be challenges. I would be all for it. I mean, I agree with Robin that there is an advantage to it. I don't know whether that would be next year or 2 years or whatever, but But yeah, I mean, there are challenges, and if you actually wanted to talk about Houston, I'm happy to talk about, all of the struggles and the games that we have. San Antonio would be great too, that's fine.
Jeff, who's?
So I have kind of a pair of comments. One is talking about as we're talking, it's really sort of some it sounds like some, I won't say competing goals, but, brand continuity. Everyone kind of agrees, the branding and the way this weekend went is pretty good. It's nice, keeping some continuity with the branding and also the folks heavily involved in the planning committee. Sounds great to kind of keep momentum, but as I'm listening, and maybe other people are hearing this, I don't know, why are we having a camp? What is our goal? Is our goal to spread Drupal in Texas? Is our goal to provide for the current tech community and meeting and networking for those? What are we doing? And you mentioned earlier, if we want to try to save some money on taxes and things and making the Texas Camp nonprofit with a board, that's bureaucracy, and sometimes it's a really bad idea. But in this case, that provides for representatives from these sort of different ideas about what it could be, and make kind of a mission statement for what it should do. I mean, the Drupal community is awesome in that most of the time it's everybody's cool, this is good, we like Drupal, we like open source. Why are we having a Texas camp? Is it to have sponsor opportunities? Is it to meet people to hire? Is it to get hired? Is it to learn things? And it's all those things, but yeah, I mean, moving the camp around the city satisfies one need, keeping it honest and satisfies another need in a different way. And so what is our priority, and who is determining our priority? So that's it.
Brandon?
I don't have an answer for any of that stuff.
But to Catherine's point about how different Houston is, and it's like a different camp, and Charles's point about needing to keep a core team. I think if it were to move cities, which I am in favor of, I need an excuse to go somewhere else.
Amen.
And it'll be fun. But so if we decide we want a core team, I think you absolutely have to have somebody local in the city you're going to.
Yeah.
But now the question is that enough? Can you have just one person who's responsible for telling the team, this is the kind of city Houston is, or it sounds more like you really do need to have an extra whole core team in each city, people who live there, who understand more than just, this location has a good venue or whatever, to actually, maybe the program person has to be from that city also, or,
We could get you maybe 5.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest it sounds like we could use the core team and then a regional sub-team.
Right.
It doesn't have to be as big as the core team. It's just we break down whatever is more regional specific for those particular areas. Because we're almost all of us are used to working on distributed projects, and I could pick up probably almost everything up here, with the exception of some of the things that are very geographically specific. The rest can be managed by a distributed team, in my experience.
Well, our team was distributed. We never met in person the entire duration, and we did
had a lot of
have.
help from Dallas.
Yeah, we had Dallas, we had Houston, we had San Antonio, all involved in this team.
I think to the point though about regional, I obviously was never involved in any planning, but I was in a lot of conversations with David about, here's what we're talking, or y'all were talking about doing, and I think from that, I definitely felt like I could have a little bit of influence if I talked to him about it, so I didn't have to necessarily be part of the planning team to be part of the planning.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about this stuff though in the in the retro, and then of course decision time.
Yep.
But I mean, it's kind of hard to make that decision though. It's almost like we have to do some kind of vetting committee, right, to really go and get the pricing and know what's up with the venues and do this exploratory.
We're basically recreating the Drupal
have a
process.
Question about that, so if you do some venue scouting, what's kind of the basic requirements of a venue? I mean, obviously,
I have a list.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I wanted. If you.
Yeah, I can totally send you the list, but the basic nut of it is that this venue to me hits a lot of the big points. It needs to have 4 to 5 breakout rooms. It needs to have a main room that can potentially serve as a keynote or lunchroom if needed. It needs to have strong Wi-Fi. It needs to have parking and/or access. Well, for Texas, it needs to have parking. And it needs to be around stuff that people could care about. So some kind of destination draw. Those are the big things. And then, of course, price and budget go into it. We found out with this camp, for example, that catering is not as big of a deal as I thought it was. We mixed catering, and I heard not one complaint, which was lucky.
I heard a few.
Okay. I heard none, so that was for me, yay. But, okay.
The coffee was the only complaint.
Yeah, coffee.
That's the big one.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
the only thing I heard.
So things like that, like with the venue alone, can influence price completely. Like, so things like that are the things to look for.
The Texas Linux Fest is a lot like DrupalCamp, that it's now a little bit bigger in terms of attendees. Used to be smaller, but it's in the same 200 to 500 range, and the price is the same. It's also all volunteer run. It's also like volunteer, self. The speakers are to the community itself and all that. Like no company pitches and that kind of stuff, and so they've kind of rotated between Austin, San Antonio, and then one year they did something interesting. They did San Marcos, where it was a hotel in the middle of some cornfields that was built to run like corporate education things, or whatever. And there wasn't really anything around it, or whatever, in terms of entertainment. And it actually worked out pretty well, primarily because the hotel had a lot of space where people could just sort of party in an empty room or board games or whatever. And it worked out also because the location was right between San Antonio and Austin, and so a lot of people didn't stay at the hotel; they drove there each day.
Yeah.
But just a thought.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about this when we have our retrospective this next week. I guess since we only have 2 more minutes, is there anyone in here, real quick?
Okay, I just want to say, in terms of the marketing, I really like the marketing, the website and all of that, but I want people to take into consideration and be sensitive about Texas. Texas was a southern state, it was a pro-slavery state, and you leave 10 miles out of Austin downtown, and Texas is a very different place. And so a lot of that Texas pride has to do with secessionism, with southern slavery pro-mentality, and so people just need to take that into consideration. Cultural appropriation of the people who are here and have been here for a long time, who are totally invisible. And Austin is not, downtown Austin is not like the rest of Texas. And so I just want people to be sensitive to that.
Okay. Cool. So in the last minute that we have before we have to end, is there anyone here who would like to talk to me about joining the 2018 team?
Including
Anybody. If you're interested in joining the 2018 team, find me after class. The end. And if you have other questions, feel free to grab me or any of the other planning people whose faces you saw. We're totally open to input and such for next year, because we're not going to get better unless you guys say words to us. Hopefully they're nice words, but great. So thank you for coming. I appreciate this. Hopefully this will be useful to the planning team and for other teams who are going to listen to this recording in the future. Thank you.
Also, thank you everyone for just doing a great job this year. This has been great.